Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Slav's Geek Talk Podcast. I completely had my microphone muted there when I was trying to talk, and it didn't work, so sorry about that. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We got a show to talk about. We got things to talk about in the show today. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about humor. Does it ruin comic book movies? That was a great topic that a viewer put into our comment section. So I thought, hey, let's talk about it today. We're also going to talk about some new stuff about the news. We're going to talk about the DCU, Blade, Armor Wars. Could they be canceled? As well as some breaking news that's a little fitting. So let's kind of get into it, everybody. What do you say? Let's get into it. All right. How's it shaking, everybody? Welcome back. What is going on? Let's see if people actually jump into the comments section here. We got Sean Franklin. How's it going? Hello. How's it going? Oh boy. You know, I got home today, had work. Was all excited. iPhone event today. Real excited about the iPhone event. Kind of an Apple geek here. Love the Apple stuff. And then my son, he gave me some pretty bad news. TSC Pulse early. Yeah. I know I scheduled it to be a bit later, but after hearing this news, I wanted to start a little bit early because I wanted to bring this up and talk about it. Sean Franklin says, "Have you seen Alien Romulus?" I haven't seen Alien Romulus yet. I am dying to see it, though. I am dying to see it. All right, let me get into this, though. I do want to bring this up because it was breaking news. My son brought it to the forefront and brought it to me as we were eating dinner because I didn't hear about it. Just busy life, work, got home, made dinner, getting ready for this. The passing of James Earl Jones. I mean, from Star Wars to Lion King, from The Sandlot, Field of Dreams, even comedies like Coming to America and Soul Man. The thing about James Earl Jones, I mean, he was such a diverse actor. He spanned all sorts of genres. And it's not likely, he definitely affected viewers in some form or fashion in every way. I mean, come on. First off, Darth Vader. Darth Vader, he is the voice of Darth Vader and always will be. We know he signed that deal where they could use his voice forever as Darth Vader. But he was such a huge, well-established actor. To see that he passed on is a very, very sad day for sure. Again, not just being the big Star Wars fan that I am. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but even smaller works of art. Like I was a big fan of the Jack Ryan series of films with Harrison Ford back in the 90s. He was in those. He was, like I said, The Sandlot, Field of Dreams. He was Mufasa. I mean, things like that. He was such a big part of my childhood in so many ways, as well as so many other people. And it is a very upsetting day when such a big part of your life, even if it's just in movies, passes away like that. He was, by all accounts, there was never any controversy surrounding James Earl Jones. He was a fantastic human being by all accounts. He was a very friendly human being. Anytime you saw him in interviews, he was always so happy and joyous about where he got in life and how he would always say, he's a Southern boy. I think he was a Southern boy, but he would say something like a Southern boy with a stutter became what he became. It is just an amazing career that he had. And it's a sad day. It really is. And I didn't want to do this show, being a show like we are and being how he was such a big part of pulp culture over the last 20, 30 plus years. We had to talk about it for sure. So rest in peace, and our thoughts and prayers are absolutely with his family and friends at this time. Absolutely. All right. So moving on, because again, I we had to get that out of the way, and it's very sad. We got Joseph Ricci in here. James Earl Jones passed on with the sad emoji. Yes, it is very, very sad. All right. So the big topic today will be talking about the humor in comic book movies and if it ruins comic book movies. Should it be there? Should it not be there? That's what we're going to get into. But before we get there, we're going to touch on a bunch of news topics. That's how my Monday shows go. My Monday shows, we talk about some news, some things that are going on in the pulp culture world, and then we have a main topic. So if you're new to the Monday shows, that's what that is all about. So the first thing I want to talk on is just some things that popped up DC related. All right. And make sure you join the discussion. Super chats are a great way to support the channel if you want to support the channel. And it guarantees I see your message and I can comment on your message in your chat and react to it. So this was over on the Twits, on the X's, whatever you want to call it. This coming from DCU Brief. Latest DC news from James Gunn. Creature Commandos releases December 5th, which I think we already knew. It's an appetizer to start the DCU and has lots of references and Easter eggs, which is exciting, which we kind of figured that was going to happen. This is interesting because this says he. It's not he. He is not shooting Peacemaker. He's directing, I think, 2, maybe 3 episodes. There's other directors shooting Peacemaker. He's involved. He's a producer. He helped write it, but he is not filming Peacemaker. Keep that in mind. Season 2 is currently being shot, and Superman is epic and the true start of the DCU. And I wanted to bring this up because there is some confusion on what is the true start of the DCU. What is the true start of the DCU, people? What is going on? If you have Creature Commandos coming out in December, and that's part of the DCU, is that not the true start of the DCU? Or is it Superman in July 11th or on July 11th of 2025? What is going on? And didn't he say Blue Beetle was part of the DCU? There's a lot of confusion. And I will be the first to admit that James Gunn sometimes has to back off a little bit. Just like, come on, dude. Like, Superman's the start. That should have been what it was from the very beginning. Just say Superman is the start. Creature Commandos comes out after it, whatever. But it's not. They wanted to have Creature Commandos come out, and that's fine. Creature Commandos, it's not expected to do gangbusters. I mean, it's going to do like Harley Quinn type of numbers, if that. I don't think they're expecting anything else. I think, like he says, I think this is a great way to put it. It's a appetizer of sorts for the DCU. Yes, it is the start of the DCU. It is kind of a start. It's an entry point to this world. It's an entry point to this universe, which is fine. That's fine and exciting. Why not? Let's get into it, right? But I think overall, I think what you want to take away from this is Superman is the full start. This is the mass entry into the DCU. This is where everybody, the general audience, the mass audience, everybody is going to enter into the DCU. Because let's face it, Creature Commandos isn't for everybody. My mom's not going to watch Creature Commandos. My mom will watch Superman. I can tell you that. She's interested in seeing that. My kids, I mean, depending on how R-rated the Creature Commandos is, they may watch Creature Commandos, but they're definitely going to want to see Superman. You see, that's the difference there. So I think that's how people need to kind of, just step back a little bit and realize, okay, the DCU, it's ramping up. It's starting to get started. Everything's getting to be a little fun. But what about Peacemaker season 2? Because if that's filming now and it's a television show, couldn't that come out before Superman in July? Well, absolutely, it could, but according to James Gunn, it's not. It's not. He was asked, in what year will we finally receive season 2 of Peacemaker? And James Gunn confirmed, because this was kind of already known, but he confirms that it will be in 2025 after Superman. So my guess, it'll probably be Superman in July, and Peacemaker will probably drop August, September, maybe November at the very latest, October, somewhere around there. I can't imagine it being too close to the holidays, but also not too close to Superman. So a nice little soft spot in there somewhere, I'm sure, is where that'll come out. But we're starting to get information about the DCU. That is what the exciting information is with this. And to even get just just a little bit more excited, just a tad bit more excited about the DCU, this over the last week, we got with Millie Alcock attending the sixth day of the 2024 US Open in New York City. And it's the tennis open, that is. I don't know who Will McDonald is, but very interesting to see Millie Alcock with the blonde hair. Now, Supergirl is not due to start filming until the end of this year, early January. The fact that she's sporting this hair in September, late August, September, well, what does that make you think? What does that make you believe? Think about it. Sure, she could be doing costume fittings and so on, but they wouldn't have to dye her hair right now. That's not something that you have to do right now. No, no, no. My guess, and this is a guess, all right? This is just me theorizing here, but follow me here. Follow me on this ride. She shot at least a scene for Superman. That makes the most sense. We also know that she was cast months and months and months ago for a reason. Months and months and months ago. There was a reason why she was cast as early as she was. Her hair's blonde now. That's not her. That you can tell it's dyed blonde. That is not her natural hair color. We all know that. I would probably go to say 85 to 90% sure that she shot a scene for Superman. It just makes the most sense. I mean, again, we're in September right now. They're not shooting until January. Could they start early? Absolutely. Maybe they're finding, hey, we can ramp up and get this started sooner. That could be the case, maybe. Or maybe they felt like, hey, we can shoot a couple scenes for Supergirl during the production of Superman to save some money or to save some time. That could have been a possibility. But honestly, why cast her as early as they did if not to have her in the Superman movie and have her hair blonde? And it just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. But let me know your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts about all this crazy DCU news, which is really exciting. I mean, again, it's all ramping up. It's all starting. I've been saying for months, for weeks and months, that as the year starts to move forward towards the end of 2024, that is when things are going to ramp up. We're going to start hearing more, seeing more information is going to come out. There's going to be a time when James Gunn can't keep everything so close to the chest anymore because there's just going to be so many people involved, so many productions going. He's not going to be able to keep things as close to his chest as he was able to with Superman. And as that happens, more information is going to get out. Things like this are going to happen. Millie Alcock is going to be out in the open with her blonde hair. People are going to see it. Things like this are going to happen. And that's what's exciting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, all that jazz, because why the heck not support my channel? Support the channel. What do we got people saying over here? We got TSC Pulse. What is going on, man? I'm so excited for this era of DC. I can't wait. Absolutely. He also agrees. Scene in the Superman movie. Yes, absolutely. He also says makes sense 100%. Absolutely. Again, what else could it be? They schedule out these movies to be filmed in such a way for all the actors. Remember, there's hundreds of people that are in the production, whether it's the director of photography, the PAs, the directors, the actors, the producer. Everybody has to be scheduled to a certain point, which is why they say, okay, this movie is going to start filming then. To have to change all that and pull it earlier would be a big headache. And it's been slated to start shooting at the end of this year, beginning of next year for a while. So I mean, maybe. I don't know. That's just, again, I said this was all theorizing. I think it makes sense. RC Donkey, what's up? Says probably a post-credit scene, though I'm low-key kind of hoping Superman ends with flag off to fight Peacemaker. That would be badass. That would be interesting. That would be. I really don't know. I don't know what the plan will be. Again, that's a topic that I think we need to talk about. Maybe not today, maybe later this week, maybe next week, on how they will handle the post-credit, mid-credit scenes in the DCU. I think that's an interesting topic. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that today because I want to get to the other stories and everything else, but that could be a very interesting thing for sure. Definitely, definitely interesting. All right, I want to move on to the next thing here. This next topic, we've talked about Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. The Acolyte came out, the Acolyte stuff happened, and everything like that. I've talked about it. I even mentioned a little bit on last week's show. Maybe it was last Thursday. Just a tidbit of it, maybe just a little bit of it about the Acolyte. But what's going on is absolutely crazy. There is legitimately a Star Wars civil war going on, and there was a deliberate attack on from one side of the fandom to another side of the fandom, and it's pathetic. Look, there comes a time when it's all in fun. There you can have disagreements, you can have fun with that kind of stuff, but what has happened here is out of hand. And this comes from geeksandgamers.com, which, believe it or not, was one of the channels, one of the people or certain section of people that were targeted in this attack. So this comes from them. It says the campaign to save the Acolyte, the Disney Plus Star Wars show that was recently canceled because of its ratings were abysmal, has reached its reciprocity. I can't say words, sorry. Now that presumably it's clear the people on social media who were willing to do everything to save the Acolyte, aside from actually watching it, that it's not coming back. Though one of its stars, Manny Jacinto, still holds out hope, they're targeting everyone who didn't like it. This is manifested in an attempt to get several YouTube channels demonetized, including Neurotic, RK Outpost, and Geeks and Gamers. And another one that has been recently added into that is Star Wars Theory. The Righteously Indignant movement originated with Rewriting Ripley, a podcast about, according to their website, feminism and fandom in the age of social media. Sounds like a barrel of laughs. They made a video they posted on X and wrote a letter to YouTube requesting the channels they don't like be demonetized, which they also posted on X. You can see them below. So I don't know if you've been following along with this. If not, I encourage you to go check out this website, Geeks and Gamers. They go through all the videos. I'm not going to play the videos. I'm not going to sit here and read every single tweet, every single piece of message here. And honestly, you can even go check out their channels, whether it's RK Outpost, whether it's Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, or Star Wars Theory. You can go check out all their channels because they have been targeted. They have been targeted to be demonetized. And they talk about it. They talk about what is going on. And whether you agree with those channels and how they handle everything or not, that's besides the point. Because, again, like I've said in other videos, if you don't like what somebody's saying on YouTube, you can simply press a little 3 buttons thing on and say, I don't want to follow. Don't follow anymore. It's as simple as that. You can just not follow the person. Or just don't listen. Don't click on their videos. It's not that hard. But the fact that they are this unhinged because the Acolyte failed, the Acolyte was canceled, not renewed, whatever you want to call it. The fact that they are going after YouTube and YouTubers, yes, because it's not just the YouTubers, they are also attacking YouTube. They've gotten to the point where they are attacking YouTube because they haven't demonetized these people, because they haven't stood up to these YouTubers. They haven't protected Star Wars in their eyes. They're attacking YouTube. They're attacking YouTubers. And it's out of hand. It is ridiculous. It's asinine. It's out of hand. I don't know how to put it any other way than that. People can have opinions. People can say that they don't like something. People can go on the internet and say, hey, I don't like this character. This character is written poorly. This character is written terribly. This show is crap. I did it. You can go watch my channel. You can see my videos about the Acolytes. I talk about it. I talk about specifically how badly written the show is, how badly the characters are written, how bad the show is. I also talk about the agenda pushing they put in the show that I believe I witnessed with my own eyes for that show. If you don't agree with that, I apologize really for nothing, because that's what I see. That's what I saw. But these people can't handle that. And that is a problem. That is a real problem. And I feel bad for Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kennel, RK Outpost, Nerdrotic. I mean, these guys are big YouTubers. They're big. They're bigger YouTubers than I probably ever will be. Star Wars Theory, a huge YouTuber. The problem is they have this sense of entitlement. They believe that they can do this stuff, and they believe that they're going to get their show back by doing this. They believe they're going to make enough noise, and that Star Wars, that Lucasfilm, that Kathy Kennedy is going to say, "Oh, thank you for rescuing Star Wars. Your little crusade on X, your little crusade against YouTube has saved Star Wars. Thank you so much. Come to all the premieres. Here's all the free swag. You have made Star Wars amazing." That's not what is going to save Star Wars. But they don't understand that. The only thing that's going to help Star Wars get back on track is better writing, better vision, an actual path for Star Wars. Again, that's the only thing. I'm not going to sit here and be one of those people that say, under George Lucas, Star Wars was perfect, because it wasn't. There were issues with Star Wars back then. I didn't like The Phantom Menace. Episode 2, which I adore, has some terrible CGI, and the story is a little wonky. Come on, I didn't like the Clone Wars movie. There are things that weren't great under Lucas Star Wars. Absolutely. The holiday special. Come on. There's people who hate the Ewoks. I like the Ewoks. I don't know. But again, things weren't perfect under George Lucas. But at least he always continued and pushed forward and tried, and it was always his vision. Under Disney, Lucasfilm, it's a complete mess. And the fandom is just... it is terrible right now. The fandom, it is bad. It is the worst I've ever seen this fandom be. You know, even when the Fandom Menace, I think that's what they're called, like crept up about 6, 7, 8 years ago, whenever they came about, like everybody was talking about how bad that caused the Star Wars fandom to be. It's worse now. It's crazy. It's crazy bad. And I'm curious to see where this goes, because I really believe that all of these people have grounds for defamation because of the way and everything that they've put out there. And they could go back at these people. And I'm curious to see what happens. It's wild. Again, it's wild. But I if you're following along, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your feelings are on all this. Again, it's wild. It really is wild. Whew. All right. What do we got here? Anybody talking? TC Pulse. I heard about that. Let's see. He goes, where was the fandom when the Acolyte dropped? Was it getting any love, or were we all just missing in action? That's the thing. There were no viewers for the Acolyte. People weren't watching. That's why it got canceled, because nobody was. I say this all the time. All right. No matter how much negativity is out there, we've seen it with movies constantly. If you have bad press, if something is bad, it's gonna do bad. But if something is good and has bad press, and if you have YouTubers who talk bad on it, just because those YouTubers are talking bad, if the product is good, it's still going to be renewed. People are still going to go watch it if it's good. The good will outweigh the bad. The problem is with this, it wasn't good. So there was no good to outweigh the bad because it was just bad. So it was bad on bad on bad on bad. The good will always outweigh the bad if it's good. And that's the problem. Writing is key, TSC Paul says. Also says it seems like they're just hiring yes men who don't really care about the writing. It's sad to see a great franchise like Star Wars being handled this way right now. Is it yes men? I don't think it's yes men. I think it's more along the lines of them misreading and not understanding the world, the climate of the audience. There's this belief that everything and it has to be woke. It has to be this progressive ideals and everything. We'll put it that way. And not everything has to be that way. That's what happened with The Acolyte. That is a big part of what happened with The Acolyte. I won't say that's what happened with everything with Star Wars, because a lot of Star Wars hasn't fallen down that road. But The Acolyte very much so fell into those progressive ideals. But with everything else, it's been the writing. It's just been bad writing because they bring in these people who are like, I love Star Wars. And it's like, all right, show us what you got. And they write something, and Kathy Kennedy's like, all right, cool, let's go with it. And it's just not good. Like, look at Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was just terrible. It was a terrible show. The writing was poor, like piss poor bad. And the execution was bad. The fight with Obi-Wan and Vader, that first fight they had in that show, you could tell it was on it was in California in like a parking lot outside of like a desert. It was just so bad. There's so much wrong with Star Wars right now. The Acolyte is honestly the least of its worries, but they're making the most noise about it right now. And it's pathetic. It really is. It really is. Azio, what's going on? I don't think it ruins a movie, but you got to get a talented writer who can balance humor with. Oh, okay. We're gonna get into that. Azio. Keep that in mind. Tom, what's going on, Tom? It says, "Go woke, go broke." Aziel says, personally, I think they should kind of give a closure to Vader. James, who may rest in peace, he was literally Vader. I don't want AI voice clone. Just close that chapter. It could be the most respectful thing. Well, going back to the James Earl Jones thing, they did a deal with James Earl Jones. I want to say it was about a year ago, maybe a little longer, maybe a little shorter. I don't remember. But there was a deal between Lucasfilm and James Earl Jones to utilize his voice even after he died. So there was a deal made, and how they utilize it, what they do with it, I don't know the intricacies of that deal, but it will be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. But they're never going to get rid of Vader. They won't get rid of Vader. Definitely not. Definitely not. All right, moving on to the next topic, which is a Marvel topic, believe it or not, which is different for sure. Rumor, Blade and Armor Wars could be canceled by Marvel. All right, look, I've talked about Blade a number of times over the last couple months on my channel. I've heard a few things. One of the big things was Mahershala Ali is getting aggravated. He's kind of done. He's like, he wants this movie done. He wants to get it made. Things need to get moving and get it going. But if things don't get moving, he's walking. Well, this is coming from superherohype.com. It says, among Marvel's multiple upcoming movies, Blade and Armor Wars are projects that have faced the most delays since their initial announcement. Armor Wars was initially supposed to be a TV show, was it not? It says, with Marvel looking to reduce the number of movies it launches in a year, there are rumors suggesting that either Blade, Armor Wars, or both could be canceled by Marvel. Armor Wars was first announced as a series, in 2020, then was turned into a feature film. Meanwhile, Blade was announced in 2019. 5 years, guys, 5 years. And it's since gone through several delays to get its story right. But the latest rumor suggests that due to numerous behind the scene changes at Marvel and delays in the MCU's release schedule, the studio will soon make its final decision to either continue or drop the projects. This, according to Scooper Daniel Richman, Marvel will decide the fate of these movies in the coming months. As for Marvel, they have at least 5 live action series in development. He also hears final decision of the fate of Armor Wars and Blade is expected in the coming months. All right. So like I said, I've talked about this, specifically Blade, not so much Armor Wars, but specifically Blade over the last couple weeks myself, maybe even a couple months. Blade is in a place where they can't get the story right. They don't know what to do with the character. They don't know how to fit him into the larger MCU. And because of that, they don't know where to go with it. Mahershala Ali is getting upset. He wants the movie made. He wants to be part of this movie. But if they don't get anything moving, if they don't get it going, he's going to walk. And I think if Ali walks, I think that kind of puts an end to that film happening. Because I think the only reason that it's been alive this long is because of having such a big name like Mahershala Ali at the forefront of that movie. I think that's the only reason why they were going to do it, is because of Ali. So if he walks, I think it's getting shelved. It may come back at some point in time after that, but come on, I think that's pretty much it. As for Armor Wars, I'm a little disappointed, but I mean, could it be due to Secret Wars? Could Secret Wars be why Armor Wars is getting shelved? I mean, that little reveal with Rhodey in that kind of pissed a lot of people off. And it was kind of like, wait, so this is where Rhodey's been this whole time? Did it ruin this? Did it affect this? Like, what does it mean here? What does it mean there? Personally, for me, I could come up with a really cool story. And if that's what they're having trouble with, coming up with a story, call me up, Marvel, because I can give you a really cool story right now on how to make Rhodey a really good story for Armor Wars. And yeah, just call me up. Give me a call. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I think it's, Armor Wars was probably the least exciting film or concept post Endgame that they announced. I like Rhodey as a character, but he was not really ever like a lead character type of character. So when they said it was going to be a series, that made sense. I think that's how they should have kept a lot of this stuff. And I think Blade, even if they can't make it a movie, do what they did with Werewolf by Night. Like, make it this short little special that's like 45 minutes long, and do a really cool special with Blade and see if it captures people's imagination and people get invested. And if so, then you got that little bit there and you build out from there. Armor Wars, on the other hand, I just don't think it's necessary. I think you could probably just can that one and move on. And Rhodey fits with Captain America. You can have him slide in with Captain America. You can have him slide in with Thunderbolts. You can have him slide in anywhere that you have the more military aspect of the more grounded Marvel. Rhodey can fit in there, absolutely. Heck, have him show up in the Ironheart series, maybe. Wherever it's a little more grounded, where he can use his armor, absolutely have him pop up. But yeah, I don't know if he necessarily needs his own film unless the story is right. And I think I got a good story. Marvel, give me a call. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think they should just can Blade? Can Armor Wars? Should it just be done and over with? Should we get rid of them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right. What do we got over here? TSC says, took them long enough. The MCU slate seems poorly planned with little focus on writing or hiring the right people. The current management is really dropping the ball. Well, I mean, is it current management dropping the ball, or is it just that I think the Kang Jonathan Majors debacle kind of screwed everything up. But on top of that, I also think that they didn't. I think when Endgame happened, they didn't have a sure idea of where they were going the next 5 years. So Endgame happened, and they're like, okay, we're going to do WandaVision, we're going to do this, and we want to do multiverse, but they didn't really know what they wanted to do with the multiverse. So they kind of just didn't know, and it took them a few years. Plus, with the pandemic that happened, everything like that kind of just messed everything up there. Now they're finally getting on track. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying that what they do is going to be right. But I mean, it was kind of like Endgame happened. They didn't have a plan, pandemic, Jonathan Majors. I think now they're going to start getting things in the right direction. Hopefully. But it really sucks that they've just kind of screwed up and just floundered, and the multiverse, the whole multiverse saga could have been epic. It could have been phenomenal. It could have been so much fun and so grand, but it's just not been good at all. It hasn't been. Honestly, the best movie, in my opinion, in this multiverse saga had nothing to do with the multiverse at all. And that's pretty pathetic. It just, in my opinion, that's just really, really pathetic. Let's see. TSC also says making and announcing projects without a script or any directors involved is kind of crazy. That's kind of what the thing with Armor Wars. Did they not have a story for that? Like, did they announce Armor Wars and then just not have a script, not have a story, not have like, how do you announce something and just say, yeah, we're going to make a show called Armor Wars led by Don Cheadle and War Machine? All right. Do you have a premise? Do you have an idea? Like, why not come up with the premise and idea and then say, that sounds great. Let's see if we can make this happen and then announce it. It's ridiculous. Tom, what's going on, man? Says it'd be funny if Blade's joke in Deadpool and Wolverine comes true and there's only ever one Blade. Look, I know a lot of people love the idea of Wesley Snipes coming back as Blade. And I know that's not what you're saying here, Tom, but I'm one of the people that I'm like, look, Wesley Snipes was fine as Blade. He did a good job with his Blade films. They weren't massively successful films, mind you. They weren't big money-making films. He did fine as Blade. Do I want him back? No. He's old. He's like 60 years old, isn't he? In his 60s? I don't want him back as Blade. I want something new, something fresh, something just like I want somebody new as Wolverine too. I love what Hugh Jackman has done as Wolverine, but I still would like to see somebody new, something fresh in that role, because I want to see a new iteration that doesn't take away from what we got as Hugh Jackman. He was great, but I'd like to see something different, something fresh, something new. It's not wrong to want that. And again, it doesn't take away from what we've seen from Hugh Jackman and what he did in the role, but he's getting older and you kind of at some point need to hang up the claws and move on. And he kind of did. It was just this Deadpool movie is what brought him back. And it looks like he might stick around for just a little bit more. And that's fine. That's fine. But maybe we get more. And heck, we may get some more Wesley Snipes Blade even. Again, that's fine as long as he's not the main Blade in the MCU. I'm okay with that. Let's see. I guess we move on to our main topic, guys. That's right. The main topic. We talk about, does humor ruin comic book movies? So over at slavsfreetalk.com, check out the website. Pretty good website. Yeah, I think it's my website actually. Anyways, slavsfreetalk.com. We got this article over there. Now, the great thing about my community, and I like to give you all props when it's due. There's a comment on one of my videos. It says, hey, Slav, awesome video. I don't remember what video it was, but can you please make a video about the hate towards comic book movies having humor? I don't get why people dislike humor in these films. Sure, if done wrong, it can ruin the tone, but if done right, it makes the movie better. Comics have always been known as funny books. They're not all serious. A little humor, when it flows well, doesn't make a movie bad. I'm tired of creators predicting the downfall of the DCU just because James Gunn includes humor in his movies. DCU hasn't even started and people are already hating. Let's see the first project before criticizing. Not every comic movie has to be serious all the time. So that's from TSC Pulse 7761. Yeah, man. Thank you for the comment and thank you for the idea for the main topic today. So, yeah, I mean, look, humor in comic book movies. You said it best, man. Comics are also known as funny books. All right. So, comic book movies should have humor in them. Absolutely. The article here specifically asks why humor in comic book movies divides audiences. And what's great is I made two different articles. You got one here, comic book movies and humor. Is it a bad thing? And then comic book movies and humor. Is it a good thing? And you can see the two sides of everything. And we're going to kind of go over it a little bit. So there's 5 points here specifically on why it's a bad thing. There's a tone mismatch. Some people believe that there's this tone mismatch when it comes to comedy and comic book movies. Specifically, one of the biggest complaints is how it disrupts the tone of a scene. Imagine an intense, emotional charge moment between two characters, and suddenly a joke undercuts the drama. This shift can make it hard for viewers to stay immersed in the story. Many films in the superhero genre explore serious themes like loss, identity, and morality. So when humor is overdone, it can feel jarring and even disrespectful to the weight of the situation. This, believe it or not, specific one I wanted to point out because this is one that people talk about James Gunn all the time. And I can't sit here and disagree with that. James Gunn does sort of use jokes to break out of an emotional scene. If there's an emotional moment, he will break out of that emotional moment with comedy. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I think that's dependent on the viewer, dependent on the person who's watching the film, who's experiencing that film. He doesn't do it all the time, but he does do it. So I can understand why that would be a little jarring. There's also the idea of forced and overused jokes. Again, not all jokes land. And no, that's the thing. Whether it's a comic book movie or a comedy, I'm watching right now. My fiance and I are actually watching the show Veep. And it's a funny show. It's a funny show. It started in 2012. It ran for like 7, 8 seasons, something like that. It's on HBO. It's on Max. And it's a funny show. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she's hilarious, but some of the jokes just don't land. And even the first few episodes, my fiance, she was like, "Did I laugh at all? Is this even supposed? Is it supposed to be funny?" And there's some where I'm laughing and she's not laughing because not all jokes land for everybody, and that's okay. You see, so when it comes across like here, not all jokes land. Sometimes audiences feel the humor in comic book movies come across as forced, as if it's been added just for the sake of being funny rather than natural fitting into the narrative. Worse, repetitive humor can grow tiresome. A good example is when the same character delivers similar quips over and over, which can make the writing feel lazy or formulaic. That doesn't happen too much anymore, but earlier comic book movies definitely happened quite a bit. Uh, Earlier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that was a big thing that we saw, but it's kind of toned down a little bit. And I don't think that we're going to see that in the DCU. I don't think we're going to really see that moving forward. Then there's an expectation for the genre. The word comic book is vast and encompassing both lighthearted stories and darker, more mature themes. I mean, I take a look, even looking at DC. DC does have this thought with people that it is a much more darker type of comic and much more darker stories. You take a look at the Frank Miller's Batman, the Dark Knights, uh, Dark Knight Returns. There we go. Couldn't think for a second. You have the Kingdom Comes of the world. You have stories like that. The Watchmen, very dark, very serious, not comedic really at all. That's okay. Like you can have comedic moments within a dark setting if it's done right. But not all DC is dark. Not all DC is that dark. Let's not forget that, DC didn't start that way. DC was very lighthearted. It was very much about the American dream, about, making families, making people in America proud to be an American, proud and happy about their life. It was about, you know, being joyous because of wartime going on. They didn't want you to think about that kind of stuff. They didn't want you thinking about the bad in the real world. They wanted you to think about fun and happy stuff, about heroes saving the day. So when there's a little comedy inserted into that, that's kind of the idea. There's also a desire of grit. Again, with DC, I kind of just went over that. People want to see grit. But then there's this Marvel influence. Marvel's success in balancing humor and action has shaped the landscape of comic book films. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for its quippy dialogue and lighthearted moments, and for a while, this blend worked extremely well. But as more films followed the MCU's lead, some viewers began to feel fatigue. With so many superhero movies adopting a similar comedic formula, audience may start and have really already started to see humor as a overused, even in cases when it's done well. So that's kind of what has divided audiences, why humor and comic book movies have divided audiences. But here are the reasons why it's not a terrible thing. Relief from intensity. Like I said, James Gunn is one that will go from a very emotional, intense scene, and in the next scene, use a little comedy to kind of lighten the mood, get out of that. Character development. Witty banter and humorous interactions are fantastic tools for character development. They can reveal crucial traits and dynamics, making characters more relatable and endearing. Humor adds depth and personality beyond the hero's actions, helping audiences connect with them on a more personal level. I'm going to take Superman, for instance. Take a look at Clark Kent on one hand and Kal-El Superman on the other. Clark Kent is aloof. He is bumbling. He is a nerd. He stumbles around. It's a little bit of a comedic take on a person. You see what he did, what Christopher Reeve did in the early Superman movies. As he was Clark Kent, he was very, very different. But when he was Superman, he's very stoic. He's very superhero-esque. But when he wasn't Superman, he slouched down, had the glasses on, stumble around, stumbling over his words. It was comedic in a sense. Not overly comedic, but still comedic. So it works with the character development as well. And we've seen that even in Nolan's Batman films. Take a look at the way Bruce Wayne, specifically Batman Begins. This is where you see it the most. Because Bruce Wayne goes away, he does his training, and he comes back. Everyone's like, "Oh, Bruce Wayne's back! Bruce Wayne's back!" And he goes into that restaurant in the hotel or whatever, and he takes the escorts, and they go into the fountain, and they go swimming. That's a comedic moment, but it's not overly comedic. Of course, it's not. It's not a slapstick type of moment, but it's a comedic moment about character development, showcasing that this Bruce Wayne is a very different person than the hero he is as Batman. Again, comedy works. Comedy works in superhero films. Engaging a broader audience. This is very key when it comes down to it, when you're trying to make these types of movies and really trying to build a larger audience and trying to get people to watch these films, to pay money for these movies. Because if you want people to come see these films, you can't just stick to the 30-year-olds, the 25-year-olds, the 40-year-olds. You need to get the younger audience. And let's face it, kids, teenagers, they love superheroes. They love the spectacle of superheroes. They do. But the dark and gritty is not what's going to pull them in. They want the comedy. They want the slapstick from time to time. That doesn't mean that every single character has to be like that, but if you want to reach that larger audience and you want to get the kids, absolutely. Heck, even sometimes the grandparents want that. Even the women of the world want that. Not all of them, but some of them do. I mean, you have to find that balance. It's all about balance. You got a cultural relevance. Many comic book stories reflect contemporary society, and humor can effectively address modern issues in a lighthearted manner. The relevance resonates with viewers, making the stories feel timely and relatable while still entertaining. This one, I mean, makes sense. Do you want to go in and see a movie that's like, it's just in your face, serious constantly, and it's about a real issue, or do you want to kind of try and make it a little more lighthearted and see it from a different perspective, but in a lighthearted way? You know, it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to have it that way. Hungry Almighty, how's it going? He says humor doesn't ruin superhero films as long as it's not cringe, constantly being done, and fits the character where you can say, "Oh, I can see him acting like that." You're right. You're right. I don't disagree with that. Balanced storytelling as well, just like classic literature and film, a mix of tone can create a more dynamic narrative. Humor complements drama, enhancing the overall storytelling experience. Again, balance. If you can balance the storytelling with the humor, as well as the legacy of comic books. Comic books have a long history, and we said this in the beginning, of incorporating humor, often balancing serious themes with lighthearted moments. By including humor in films, creators honor the source material and maintain the spirit of the original stories, ensuring that the adaptation feels authentic. Again, it's okay to have humor in comic book movies. It doesn't ruin it. It doesn't ruin them. And I think getting back to the point of the original commenter here, if I can pull it up again, where he asks, he wants me to make this video, he wants me to talk about it, but he goes specifically, I'm tired of creators predicting the downfall of the DCU just because James Gunn includes humor in his movies. So if we go back to that, talking specifically about DCU, I don't think that we need to worry about that, because when we take a look at this, Superman Legacy, The Authority, Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Swamp Thing, Creature, all these things that they announced, which is only just a handful of chapter 1. We know this isn't all of chapter 1. It's still tonally, everything is different. Superman Legacy will have some comedy. That's a James Gunn movie. So absolutely, you have a character, Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion, Nathan Fillion's going to have some comedic parts in there. Absolutely, he is. That's just who Nathan Fillion is. Superman as Clark Kent has to act aloof. He has to. That's just how Clark Kent is. But then you have a film like The Authority. Come on. You think that's going to be filled with comedy? No. Waller? No, we've already heard rumor that that's going to be more grounded, dark, and gritty. Swamp Thing? That's supposed to be more horror aspect. Lanterns? That's going to be a buddy cop film. Sure, there'll probably be more comedic elements to that, but I'm thinking that's going to be more Lethal Weapon style, which is going to be exciting and fun. Creature Commandos, we know what that's going to be. We've seen the trailer for that. That is what it is. It's an animated show anyways. That's fine. Brave and the Bold, that's going to be a Muschietti film. So what do we expect from that? So you can see that we've already seen from the DCU that there's going to be tonally different movies within there. So I don't think we have to worry about James Gunn throwing in all this comedy in the DCU. So does humor ruin comic book films? No. No, it doesn't. Because, I sit there and I watch Captain America the Winter Soldier. It has comedic moments in it, but it's still one of my top 2 favorite Marvel films. Guardians of the Galaxy, believe it or not, is my favorite Marvel film. But Winter Soldier is my number 2. It could easily flip-flop with Guardians of the Galaxy, depending on my mood. Again, there's a little more comedy. It's a little more lighthearted Guardians of the Galaxy than Winter Soldier, but there are comedic moments in the Winter Soldier. See, we got some comments here. All right. JL, it needs good balance. DC Comics have always had that. There's always been humor and seriousness. I think DCU will have that. I agree. Aziel, even Logan has humor, but the movie is great thanks to the balance. Tom says Zack Snyder bragging about how dark his DC movies were going to be might have influenced his super vocal fan base. Possibly. Aziel, and for the people doubting, Gunn already said many times before that Superman sure will have humor, but it will be a comedy. It will be? It will not. I think you mean to say will not be a comedy like the Guardians films or his other works. Yeah, that's what you said. Okay. TSC Pulse, this 100%. Aziel, Into the Spider-Verse is basically my top favorite comic book movie, but thanks to how balanced it is and how well written it is perfect to me. Yeah, again, you know, it's all about how you go into a movie and understanding how the movie is going to be. Like, I going into Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I wasn't going into that movie expecting it to be dark, gritty, and serious. I wasn't. That's probably why I came out of that movie actually enjoying it more than a lot of other people did. Am I sitting here saying that it was the greatest comic book movie ever? Am I even saying it was the best Marvel movie ever? No. It has its problems. Absolutely has its problems. But I came out of it like, hey, it wasn't as bad as a lot of people were saying. It was an Ant-Man movie. It's what I expected from an Ant-Man movie. You have to go in there with your expectations and understanding what these movies are going to be. I think that's kind of why there was such a divide with, say, Man of Steel, because people were so used to what we saw from Christopher Reeve as Superman, what we saw from those Donner films, what we saw even from the Brandon Routh film in 2005, 2006, whenever that came out. People were so used to that. So when Man of Steel came out, it was such a shift, such a change that people were just kind of taken aback and like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting from Superman. This is dark, this is gritty. Where's the comedic elements? Where's the aloofness from Clark? Where's this? Where's that? This is more grounded. This is more real life than what I was expecting. And that's, I think, why people didn't go into that movie knowing what they were going to get, because they didn't get the Superman that they were expecting. Again, I love Man of Steel. Man of Steel, in my opinion, that's my very favorite superhero film, by the way. And it's my favorite, I think, the best origin movie, in my opinion. But again, that's what you have to go in. You have to understand what you're going in to see. And I think that's what kind of screws people up when they think about humor. That's why Guardians of the Galaxy did so well, because a lot of people didn't know what and who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Those comics weren't hugely popular comics for Marvel. So when that movie came out, all anybody had to go off of was what we saw in the trailers. And that's what we went off of. So everybody went and saw the movie and was like, this is great. This is hilarious. It's a space epic with comedy, great characters, great character development. The chemistry was great. This was a lot of fun. This is a fun movie. It's funny, great space epic film, a lot of fun. In the Marvel universe, great. Can we get another one, please? So you go in knowing what you expect, you're going to come out one way. If you go in expecting one thing and you get something else, well, that's where the problems come in. Like, if anybody went into Deadpool and Wolverine thinking that you're going to get, something that is not what we got, you're going to be disappointed. Like, I mean, come on, think about it. Like, you're getting a bunch of dick and fart jokes when you go to Deadpool and Wolverine. It's that simple. I mean, it's really that simple. Morris Thompson, humor does not ruin a comic book movie as long as there's a perfect balance. In my opinion, Superman and Lois shows the perfect balance of seriousness and humor. Again, it's about understanding the character. It's about understanding the lore. It's about understanding how to write those characters. Balance is important. Yes, you have to balance it all. But, when it comes to those CW shows, Greg Berlanti always said that, one thing that was always, I always loved to hear it. It was the 3 H's, the heart, humor, and heroics. And if you put those 3 things into your show, into your story, you're going to have a home run. Heart, humor, heroics. Because if you have heart, you're gonna catch people on an emotional level in some form or fashion. If you have the humor, you're gonna get people laughing, and people like to laugh. People love to laugh. And if you have the heroics, you have the superhero aspect of it. And if you can get those three things in a movie and it's well written and it's a good story, you're gonna have a hit on your hand. And that's why I think Greg Berlanti was so good at creating this CW verse, specifically those first two seasons of like every show. Every show had really good first two seasons. After that, it just kind of all went downhill for all those shows. But yeah, Tom says Brandon Routh Superman Returns. Hey, I like it too. I don't know if you ever got a chance, if you've ever seen the extended Superman Returns, where it like had a whole bunch of footage that was cut. Like the beginning part of that movie has like an extra like 10-15 minutes where he actually goes to Krypton and stuff like. Dude, check it out. It's really cool if you can get a chance to see it. I think it adds like another like 30-40 minutes to the movie, something like that. It's been a while since I've seen it. Tom also says Guardians of the Galaxy 3 made me tear up at parts. Yeah, man, dude, that part with Rocket, that whole story with Rocket, dude, that movie, that was one of the most well written and executed comic book movies we've seen in a long time. And people don't give it enough credit. Again, it had that heart, humor, and heroics. That movie had all three of those H's, and it was done so well. So well. People need to give that movie more credit. They really do. Aziel, now that Muschietti will have like more freedom as a filmmaker for Batman, I wonder if he will add his horror style elements or fantasy elements to his take. I hope so. I mean, we're going for a more fantasy world with this DCU, so hopefully. Aziel, and even the Guardians of the Galaxy had certain comic book respect and inspiration. Gunn talked about his inspiration, Abnett and his emotion, but it also has humor, Star-Lord throwing puns and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you have to stay true to a certain degree. Otherwise, you're going to piss off a lot of people. We've seen that happen before with comic book movies. If you don't stay true to a certain degree, JL, even when people think a Batman film needs to be all serious, I'm like, no, it doesn't. There's comedic elements as well. They're small, but humor is present. Aziel, by the way, both Rocket and the high evolutionary writing is what fully convinced me that Gunn can make both great Superman and Lex Luthor. 100%. I agree with that. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We got Dominic Anderson in here. How's it going? Hi. Hi. Yeah, I agree with the high evolutionary writing. That was excellent. I see high evolutionary, honestly, is more in that movie, more of a combination of Lex and Brainiac in a way. Kind of. I would like to see Brainiac, James Gunn tackle Brainiac. Honestly, while I'm excited for James Gunn to do Superman, I do hope that he allows other directors and filmmakers tackle Superman after he's done. That's what I would like to see. Like, allow other people to kind of give it a shot. Because if he does well, like, step back and let this universe blossom. Let other filmmakers have a chance. But I do think High Evolutionary had some of those very Lex Luthor qualities, but also the planning of like a Brainiac for sure. Chukwudi Iwugi, I'm terrible with names, dude. As he also says, crushed it with his acting. The man is theatrically trained actor. Talking about the high evolutionary. Yes, he absolutely killed it. He was also in Peacemaker season 1. So yes, absolutely killed it. I've seen James Gunn's podcast episode where he explains the DCU, and I have all the faith. If anyone here hasn't seen it, I recommend. Are you talking about the one where he did with Michael Rosenbaum? That one there? That's the only one that I remember seeing him on, the only podcast, because I've been trying to keep up with all of that news. And anytime I see that he does an interview of some sort, I made sure. And that was like a year ago. He did that with Michael Rosenbaum, which he's really good friends with, which is probably why he did it. But yeah, he did explain the DCU and his plans and the way that he's approaching the DCU. Yeah. Michael Rosenbaum has a great podcast. Michael Rosenbaum, if you don't know, played Lex Luthor in Smallville. He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy as like the what's his guy's name? He had like the diamond face in Volume 2. I can't remember the guy's name though. Yeah, there you go. Tom says Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor on Smallville. Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum's awesome. He's also in a movie. A lot of people don't know about this movie. I used to work at a video store when I was younger. And this was like my go-to movie for a lot of young people. Like, hey, what's a movie recommendation? This is a movie I would recommend. It's called Pool Hall Junkies. If you're a fan of playing pool, ever go to pool halls or anything, it's a low budget film. Chaz Palminteri's in it, Michael Rosenbaum, Christopher Walken's in it. But it's a really cool film. Michael Rosenbaum's in it. He's not in it a lot, but he is in it. It's a really, really cool movie, really fun movie, comedy, really good movie, Pool Hall Junkies. If you guys are film fans, go check it out. It's one of those movies that if I get a chance to revisit, I always watch it because it is a really cool movie. Yusef, what's going on? Even though I disagree with Aaron Fisher about his opinions on DCU, we still need to respect each other's opinions. Yeah, man, absolutely. That's what I say. I didn't talk about any of that stuff today. I made a video which released this morning about all that, and that's kind of where I kept it. But go check his channel out, guys. If you've not seen his videos, if you've not checked out his channel, go check it out. His views on the DCU are much, much different than mine, but that's okay. Get differing points of view. And it's okay. He's a little, he's a little more on the side of he's not a fan of James Gunn, and he's being a little more cautious about how things are going to play out over there, where I'm being a little more excited and hopeful. But that's okay. We can all have different points of view, as Yusuf says. Morris, I agree, Yusuf. Plus, I personally believe Gunn and Snyder has the same fans. I love Snyder, but I can't wait on the Superman film to release. I also really like how Gunn wrote characters on DC. He made Waller that just evil woman who does not care about others' lives as long as she gets what she wants. Yeah, again, agree. He does really well. That's the one thing about James Gunn. He does really well with writing. He writes characters really, really well. He's a great writer. He's a fantastic writer. That's what people don't seem to want to admit. And I don't understand. Like, you go back through his career, his writing is phenomenal. He does really well with character development. That's why I'm real excited about Superman and all these characters in Superman, specifically Superman. I can't wait to see the character development he does with Superman. It's going to be exciting. JL, I'd rather focus on channels that are optimistic about the DCU. Hey, man, that's fine. That's fine. I understand. I also think the Suicide Squad was the best version of Harley Quinn the DCU had, visually, writing, action, music. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I honestly, Birds of Prey wasn't too bad for Harley Quinn. It was kind of that step to get to the Suicide Squad. But yeah, I don't disagree. Tom, I like 3C Films and our movie news. They're respectful and good, excited movie fans. I've heard of our movie news. 3C Films, I don't think I've heard of. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up here, guys. I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up today. Make sure you check out my website, slavsfreetalk.com, which you can see right here. slavsfreetalk.com. I got some articles up, whole bunch of articles. Come on, guys. You got all this stuff. There was a great one on the two themes of Hans Zimmer's and John Williams. We got rumors up here. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Some great articles you can go check out on slavsfreetalk.com. You can hit, subscribe button. Become a Slav Geek Talker, a member of my channel. Help support me. $2.99 a month. That's not too bad. You can become a Slav Geek Talker, get some exclusive content, some cool little emoji thingies that you can post, stickers or whatever they're called on YouTube. That's pretty cool. Support the channel and whatnot. That'd be kind of neat. But yeah, make sure you keep an eye out. I may be moving my middle of the week show to Wednesday, you can go over to my community. I put a post up with a little poll. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'm thinking about it. My weeks are pretty hectic. I got soccer games on Thursday, or soccer practices for my kids on Thursdays. So rushing to do that, get home, make dinner, all that kind of stuff is really hectic. So if I can move it to Wednesday, I might give that a shot. Do we want it at 6 p.m., 8 p.m., that kind of thing? So let me know if that works for you. Hunter Iggy jumped on. What's going on? Hate to say it, buddy, but I'm wrapping everything up right now. Hate to say it. Thanks for joining. Even though you're a little bit late, that's okay. But I am wrapping everything up. Yeah. All on the next one.